The adjustment of the pattern with cut-off cups takes 2 steps. Step 1 is the selection of the desired size of the cup from the patterns at hand. Step 2 is the selection of the bustier body pattern or its adjustment to the required size. In my case, the dress form has standard dimensions, so adjusting the pattern wouldn't be exciting to watch. So I want to discuss another, more instructive example. My dress form will be a retail mannequin, the measurements of which are different from the default pattern of the bustier. I am attaching a suitable underwire under the bust, taking all the required measurements, writing them into the table, and starting to compare with the standard pattern measurements. I start with the measurement related to the cups. I see that my dress form's measurements are the same as those for sizes 70C, 75B, and 80A. Thus, I have to print out one of these 3 patterns. Although, which pattern shall I choose? Let's take a look at the underbust circumference and waist circumference measurements. Size 70C is too small. My measurements are between 75B and 80A. They are larger than the measurements for the 75B pattern and smaller than the measurements for the 80A pattern. Thus, we will have to decrease some dimensions of the pattern in size 75B and increase in size 80A. In fact, I don't gain advantage when I choose patterns in size 75B or 80A. I will print out the pattern in size 80A to make it smaller later. I remind you that details number 1 and number 2 for the adjacent sizes of the patterns are the same. In my case, these are patterns in sizes 70C, 75B, and 80A. When you adjust the pattern to the desired size, you can change only the lower parts of these details without affecting the area where the cup is sewn on. Details number 3, number 4, and number 5 of these patterns are different, so you can change both the lower parts and the upper edge. When comparing the measurements of the pattern we have and the ones of the dress form, you can see the difference in heights. Corset center height, back height, length of the side seam, and the waistline to the bust line. All of these measurements are significantly smaller than the measurements of the original pattern. The waistline to the bust line measurement is required to adjust the heights of all measurements. Let's calculate the value by which this measurement differs in the original pattern and the dress form. 13.8 minus 9.5 equals 4.3 centimeters. This difference means that the waistline is 4.3 centimeters lower on the original pattern. This difference is really big, so first of all, you should move the waistline to its correct place, shortening all the details of the pattern by 4.3 centimeters. On all the details of the pattern, we are raising the waistline in parallel by 4.3 centimeters, keeping the length of the waist segments on these details unchanged. Next, you should connect the new waist segments with the underbust line on the pattern. Now that the height of the pattern has been corrected, you can proceed to the width correction with respect to the girth measurements. We will make a preliminary calculation based on the measurements underbust front and waist front. We will find out what changes need to be made to the side details of the front so that the side seam is in the correct place. Let's find the difference between the underbust front measurements of the pattern and the dress form, and then halve this value. 39 minus 38 divided by 2 equals 0.5 centimeters. We will do the same with the waist front measurements. 37.6 minus 35 divided by 2 equals 1.3 centimeters. Adjusting detail number 3, let's move to the side raw edge by 0.5 centimeters to make the detail smaller, and let's not forget to mark the top and bottom of this segment. According to the calculation, the detail must be reduced by 1.3 centimeters along the waistline. But we have reduced it by 0.5 centimeters, so we still have to reduce it by 0.8 centimeters along the waistline. 1.3 minus 0.5 equals 0.8 centimeters. The missing 0.8 centimeters or 8 millimeters should be distributed between the raw edges of the curves on details number 1, number 2, and number 3. There are 2 curves, hence 4 raw edges. 8 millimeters divided by 4 equals 2 millimeters. I take 2 millimeters off each raw edge of the curve. Let's get to the back details. I mean details number 4 and number 5. Let's do the math. We have removed 0.5 centimeters off the front details on the right and on the left in the underbust area, which in sum equals 1 centimeter. The remainder is 79.3 minus 1 minus 76 divided by 2, which equals 1.2 centimeters. As for the waistline, we have removed 1.3 centimeters off the front details on the right and on the left, which in sum equals 2.6 centimeters. The remainder is 70.4 minus 2.6 minus 69 divided by 2 equals negative 0.6 centimeters. The value is negative 0.6 centimeters, which means that along the waistline we have to add 0.6 centimeters on each side. If we are to draw a new line on the side part of detail number 4, relying on these calculations, it is clear that we have to redistribute the change along the waistline between the sides of the back curves to reduce the bend of the side line of detail number 4. Let's draw perpendicular lines along the sides of the curve from the underbust line to the waistline. This will result in additional 1.3 centimeters along the waist circumference. 0.5 plus 0.8 equals 1.3 centimeters. Do you remember that we needed to add 0.6 centimeters along the waistline? And we have added 1.3 centimeters. It means that there are 7 millimeters more to get rid of, and we should remove this amount from the side seam. 1.3 minus 0.6 equals 0.7 centimeters. Let's draw a new side line of detail number 4, changing the location of its top part by 1.2 centimeters to reduce the detail and removing 0.7 centimeters along the waistline. As a result, the shape of the new side line of detail number 4 is similar to that of the side line of detail number 3, which means that we won't have a problem joining the raw edges together. Before finally delineating the new lines on the pattern details, I recommend checking the length of the top edge of the garment without the cup and all the height measurements. The top edge length without cup measurement is difficult to be taken from the client. It is impossible to even draw the contour of the bustier on the measured person's t-shirt without inaccuracies. Rest assured, it is still worth checking the length of the upper edge after adjusting the pattern. This measurement on pattern 80A equals 27.4 centimeters, and my value is 26 centimeters. 27.4 minus 26 equals 1.4 centimeters. Let's now count how much we have removed from the top edge when we were adjusting the pattern details number 3 and number 4. The front was reduced by 0.5 centimeters and the back by 1.2 centimeters, which is 1.7 centimeters in sum. 0.5 plus 1.2 equals 1.7 centimeters. We will calculate the real difference of this measurement values on the original and adjusted patterns. It is just 3 millimeters. 1.7 minus 1.4 equals 0.3 centimeters. So, nothing else should be changed in the details of the pattern. If you plan to use lacing as a fastener, the length of the upper edge of the product will be adjusted by the lace tension and the gap between the details of the back. If the garment is to be fastened by hooks or a zipper, the upper edge can be adjusted, if necessary, by the allowances of the center back details. Now, we'll measure the height of the center detail, the side seam, and the back on the adjusted pattern, and compare the results with the corresponding measurements of the original pattern. The height of the center of the front on the adjusted pattern is 17.8 centimeters, and the measurement taken from my dress form is 18 centimeters. The difference is 2 centimeters. The length of the side seam on the adjusted pattern is 15.8 centimeters, and the measurement of the dress form equals 16 centimeters. So the difference is 2 millimeters. The back height is thus 12.2 centimeters, but the measurement taken from the dress form is 13 centimeters. So the difference is 8 millimeters. As I said, these measurements are model. It means that unless there are other good reasons, these measurements can be changed as appropriate. For example, during fine joining the lines or due to a change in style. Based on this, I will not change the resulting heights. The 2 millimeter difference from the desired value is very small, and the height of the back, if necessary, can be adjusted on the mock-up. Let's get back to the pattern designs. At this point, you can cut out all the patterns and make the paper mock-up. After checking how well the details are joined, I'm drawing the missing lines and adding seam allowances. On the screen, you can see the lines of the original pattern in red, the lines of intermediate alterations in blue, and the final pattern in green. The cup details remain unchanged because the measurements of the original pattern are completely the same as those of my dress form. Once all the measurements are taken and compared to those in the table of standard pattern measurements, you might find a significant discrepancy between your cup measurement and the value from the table. This is most often the case with the top cup arc length measurement. The length of the upper arc of the cup is affected by the unique structure of the mammary gland of each woman, as well as the presence or absence of push-up pads. If the value of your top cup arc length measurement does not match the value in the table, the pattern can be easily adjusted. Let's make a mock-up to the cup pattern which is closest to your measurements. The mock-up should be made from heavy paper or thin cardboard. I strongly discourage making cup mock-ups of fabric. Fitting a soft cup is extremely difficult. A soft mock-up will not reveal the true picture and will be absolutely useless. Now the mock-up should be tried on. The client must be wearing an underwire bra. If you are performing the fit test on a dress form, make sure to attach a metal underwire of the proper size under its bust, because it is the underwire that informs the shape of the cup. Place the cup so that its bottom raw edge touches the underwire. Pay attention to the upper edge of the cup. If you notice a bad fit, the cup is either too tight and digs into the bust, or on the contrary, sags. The cup has to be adjusted. On the pattern of the top of the cup, there is a notch 6 and the top mark. Let's take the cup mock-up, assemble it by those marks, and cut the detail along this line. Applying the cup to the metal underwire, we are adjusting its upper part by allowing for a dart, or rather, by bringing the parts of the pattern apart to gain additional volume. The bottom of the cup will remain unchanged. Now we will fix the dart. Let's take the mock-up apart. We are tracing the modified top detail of the cup on a clean sheet of paper and copying the dart and number 6. The top edge should be drawn with a flowing line freehand or using a French or hip curve. Transfer all numerical marks in the corners of the detail and add seam allowances. If you can't perform a fit test on your client, refer to the difference of the top cup arc length measurement results. This difference will equal the depth of the dart to be allowed for. We will check the adjustments we've made by cutting out the patterns along new lines and assembling a mock-up using them. For a complete picture, I am cutting off the allowances along the top and bottom edges. I am cutting off the second half of the front center just in case I'm leaving an additional allowance in the middle of the back. I'm attaching the mock-up to the dress form, exactly aligning the middle of the front and middle of the back. I am checking the position of the side seam, the volume of the cup, and the length of the upper edge of the back. No additional allowance was required in the center of the back. The upper edge of the mock-up fits tightly to the dress form, and at the same time, it has no additional stress. So, the mock-up fits well. If you feel like making a small adjustment to the resulting pattern, this is the right time. I need to add 4 millimeters to the cup volume in the center bottom detail. Now the pattern is complete. Evaluate the appearance of the mock-up, the position of the curves, their inclination, the distance between them, the position of the bones. If something looks dubious, it is here and now when you should make corrections.